Hey, do you need wallpaper? Go to wallpaperboulevard.com. Give them my name, tell them Spencer Colgan sent you, and they'll be sure to give you 10% off at checkout. Check it out. Tell them I said hello. They have a tremendous selection. Don't shop anywhere else until you've checked out www.wallpaperboulevard.com. This is an untrimmed Bradberry and Bradberry. It's an exquisite wall covering, no doubt about it. But it's what's called in the trade untrimmed, which means that you get the sheet, you get the roll, and you have to trim off the selvedge on each side. Let me show you what I mean. This is a selvedge. Okay? And these markers all signify something important for the wallpaper hanger. The side has information relative to the colors that are used in the wallpaper pattern. But if you're the hanger, this is what you have to deal with. This is the live pattern. This is waste. This has to be trimmed off. So the company offers you a trim marker right here. So if you're new at this, you're going to say, well, this is 1.25 inches from the edge. And then you'll say, I don't have to measure the rest of them. Common sense dictates that the company, the factory, would make them at the same point throughout the wallpaper, right? Do you agree? Not true. Let me prove it to you. For practical purposes, I'm going to start the edge of my wallpaper on the 2nd inch. It just lets me put my tape measure down nice and easily. So I'm going to the forward edge of the 2-inch mark, right there. Now, I have 3 and a little more than 5/8 there. You see that? Okay. But if you want, call it 5/8. Let's go down to here. I put, the edge has to be constant. Okay. And now I'm on, let's make that perfect. Now, do you see where I'm at? I'm at 9/16 there. Oh, you say, Spencer, what's the difference between 1/16 of an inch? Well, we're not done. We're not done. Put my edge at 2 inches. And I mean the forward edge, because you can't, that's a thick black line there. You're looking at it in the middle of your screen. So we do what I call the forward edge. And look at where my marker is now. It's on 9/16. And I measured them all the way down. And I came up with the furthest point. And I made my own trim mark. The furthest point, I had about 7, this is 115-inch length. And I had about 7 of these markers. And the furthest point was the 3-inch and 9/16 marker. So throughout the entire edge, I have a variation of 1/8 of an inch. Do you know what would happen if I went according to their trim lines? I would wind up with a sheet of wallpaper that has that in it, that's what you'd wind up with. So if your length is 10 feet, you have to measure each one to make sure that the distance from the edge to the trim point is within your trim, and you cut it off. The name of the game here is going to be to get rid of this red trim line. And since it's not consistent throughout the sheet, and it varies, sometimes up to 3/16 of an inch, you have to measure each one from the edge to see where is it furthest. And then you take the furthest one, and that's your marker. So let's just say it's 1.5 inches. The furthest one is 1.5 inches from the edge. That's where you take your little pencil mark and make 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. Even if your trim mark is 1/4 of an inch away, this way, because you want a straight cut. So you might be intimidated by untrimmed wallpaper, and for good reason. But I have seen shoemakers not line up after you trim it. The pattern doesn't match after you trim it. And then you have to use paint. And I got yelled at one time for that. And the designers know very little about this stuff. Trust me when I tell you. You have to school them on these untrimmed wall coverings, because you may want to burst their little bubble and tell them, you know, the pattern may be compromised. You see, with something like this is all going to match. Let me show you something else. This is another Bradberry and Bradberry right here. Look at this beauty. Same deal. And I just did a video on this last week. So this pattern is sort of benign. I'm gonna make it match. But if you should get flowers and stuff, like some of the exotic shoemakers, you'll get a bird's wing, and then you'll trim it, and it just won't match up. So that's how I do my untrimmed wallpaper cuts, just like that. Now let me show you when I cut it off. So you don't want to cut it against wood, right? This is a standard professional wallpaper hanger's table. So here's a zinc plate. Okay, and that stays on the table. And I don't like to use the edges that the wallpaper companies sell you. I like a thin edger. I like my cut to be up against a thin side, because those thicker wood ones, they're heavy, but also your knife can go off the path. Now here's the deal. It's simple after this. You see my markers? You see my little line there, right there? You see that one right there? Right above the red? I'm simply gonna join them. Okay? Then I'm gonna trim against the edge. Let's do that. So very carefully, we take our knife and we trim against this line with a new blade. And then we have our edge, you see? You see how it takes some of the pattern with it? That's bleed. That was never meant to be part of the pattern. It's just excess. We will move the paper up that way, and we'll do the same thing again. Okay, now that's our factory edge, so to speak. But you know what? Here's what the wallpaper companies risk. This is a quality wall covering. Why would you have some guy Who doesn't know how to trim wallpaper? Trim this stuff. If he messes it up, it's going to look terrible. I really think they should start trimming it in their factory so that in the field it's not ruined. That's my advice to the company who makes this. So, although I didn't get the entire wall done for a video, I did get 2 sheets up and I wanted to show you them. But look at those edges. They are crisp and straight. Look at that. So I hope you like it, and I wish you luck trimming your untrimmed goods.